Now, something completely different. The dance music industry is worth billions. Last year, Forbes magazine's top 10 richest DJs were all men, with Calvin Harris topping the list for the fourth year in a row. It begs the question, why are there so few women at the top? Gender discrimination took centre stage at this year's Ibiza International Music Summit, where co-founder Pete Tong and many other leading figures gathered to debate how to change that tune. I just want to warn you, there are some flashing images in this piece.
I was almost sexually assaulted by a promoter. I used to have a coworker that called me his secretary, even though I was the head of a department. I never made more than $100 as a DJ till I think I was 33 years old. I don't know a single woman in dance music who has not experienced some version of this, from unwanted attention from fans, touching, that kind of stuff. If there's one of me, there have to be thousands of others.
I don't think women want to be in positions of influence through tokenism. You know, they want to be in positions of influence by being damn good.
At 17, I came over with £100 in my pocket and 2 flight cases of vinyl. I was the first female resident DJ in Ibiza. 25 years later, there's a lot more women that have come on the scene. It's still a much lower amount of females that are around or headlining. If you look at the top DJ 100, I think there was 2-3 females in that.
There aren't many women represented in dance music publishing, definitely not as many women as men. But I believe that I got my job because I was the best for it. Not because I was a woman, but because I was the most deserving.
Meeting, and this guy didn't even look at me or acknowledge me, and yeah, it's difficult, it's definitely difficult, but it's something that I feel very passionate about that needs to change.
It's time to stop talking about it, it's time to move into the action phase, but we also need to see men get active in this.
There are some very talented women out there, but being someone who's kind of quite up in electronic music, I understand that it's very much a boys' club. It's definitely a lot better when it's a mixture of people, you know, whether it's ethnicity or gender, you know, race and gender. It's better for everyone to be mixed.
We've created this system of support that women didn't really have before. Men used to have their gents clubs or their golf clubs or their whiskey bars. Women didn't really have these physical spaces, and so I decided to create a digital one.
We're talking about mental health issues and male and women roles in the business. The whole thing around diversity is probably in a more intense debate over the last couple of years.
I think it's important to talk about it and be transparent about it, and because unless we do, then it's going to continue to be the cost of doing business, and it should not be. It's too high a cost to pay.
Well, we're joined now by Sybil Bell, who's the founder of Independent Venue Week, championing small music venues around the country. She also set up and ran an event called Yes, She Can, aimed at young women who want to learn about the different music careers. And also with us, Mandy Parnell, who is a music producer and also mentors women in the industry. Thanks, both of you, for coming in. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, it's not like it's an old-fashioned or a traditional area. It's modern, it's out there. Why is it that women don't seem to be kind of punching through?
I don't know, it's a tricky one, isn't it? We were just talking before. It almost seems ironic that we need to have this discussion and that there are numerous groups championing women, and the event that we put on to encourage young women to learn about careers in the industry. It almost feels that we shouldn't have to have those conversations, but here we are, we're discussing it, and hopefully, I guess the plan would be in a few years' time that those initiatives don't need to be there because there's a bit more parity.
Why do you think there isn't parity, Mandy?
I think we need to aim younger. I think I was just in Tallinn at the Music Week up there and met some women from Finland that have got an initiative that we have some starting here that are aiming at children in primary school, teaching them about music, about production, you know, recording music. So I think a lot of our initiatives are aimed at teenagers when they're doing their options or slightly later when they're coming into college, which the foundation's probably already been set by the choices they've made.
So do you think then it's that young girls are not choosing it rather than once people have chosen it, actively being discriminated against?
I think they don't realise it's a choice early enough. You know, maybe from conditioning, you know, through systems, through being at home. Yeah, I think it's more, you know, we need to aim younger so that they realise it's a choice in all sciences, really.
Do you think, Sybil, there is discrimination within the industry as well, or is it not that?
I think there is, just from the show reel that you just showed. There are numerous examples where women are discriminated against, and it's a really tough one because my personal experience has been very little of that, and in fact, there have been a number of men who've been very strong champions of women in the business, so it's a very difficult one. I guess it depends on which part of the business you're in, but it definitely does exist, and I think in some ways men feel an entitlement, whereas women were just used to grafting and getting on with something. And I think it's just such a shame that we have to be overtly speaking up on behalf of women to get that level. And I think Mandy's absolutely right. And the experience that we found when we launched Yes She Can was that the younger that you can, the earlier you can speak to girls when they're a little bit younger, giving them those options and understanding that that's a choice is very empowering for them. When we did Yes She Can, it was part of the UN Women's He for She campaign. And we had girls down from Sunderland and Hull and across London, and we were talking to them about production, live production and studio production. And actually, we probably went a little bit too deep in that because some of them didn't even know that a number of careers even existed, let alone that they were technical roles. And I think, sorry, I was going to say, and I think the more that we can do to educate young girls, I think music's coming out of a lot of the curriculum in schools now, which is an absolute disaster. I think it needs to be put very back
But it's just weird though, because I mean, you know, there are so many women in music, you know, female artists. Why is it that this area just doesn't seem that the girls aren't thinking about it as a natural area to go into?
We have a PRS, and they've got an initiative at the moment called Women Make Music to actually raise, you know, women songwriters, because they don't have that many. Yet we have lots of women that are out there, you know, in the public eye. Yeah. But behind the scenes, same in engineering, we've managed to raise it. The MPG are raising their membership, but still we're talking anywhere between 6 to, what was we talking with one group, 28%.
28% for Independent Venue Week. We work with 140 venues all around the country, and 28% of the people that either own or manage those venues are women. We know that from our own research.
But that's the strongest statistic we have of women, you know, in a sense, in these roles, in these technical roles.
So have you come across sort of women being held back, discrimination? Have you heard much around that?
I don't know whether I've heard much around it. The women that I meet, I mentor lots of women around the world. The women that I mentor have actively made a choice to do this. So it's more about empowering them not to be intimidated in any way, to be very strong in what they're doing, you know, and not play the victim, if that makes sense. It's very easy to sort of fly the flag, oh, it's because I'm a woman, you know, when you come across ignorant people. If that, do you understand what I mean? You know, so I don't think a lot of us that are in the industry have had a lot of victimisation because we're women. Because I wouldn't say I have, you know, but yeah, I'm, you know, very much been in the industry 33 years.
Thank you both very much.
So,
Thank you. Have a good weekend.